Hi everyone, so today we have the legendary Julian Bolling, former Sri Lankan swimmer, 15 gold medals for the SAF Games, three-time Olympian and Asian Games finalist. We are going to today talk a bit about his career as a swimmer, as a coach and about youth sports. So Julian, thanks for coming and doing this.
Only a pleasure, Bila. It was the easiest when you invited me.
So my first question to you is we'll talk a bit about your career before we dive into the specifics of coaching and youth sports. What would you say has been your most memorable achievement as a swimmer for Sri Lanka?
I think the best of memories, we're turning 60 this year. We had our batch get together. And yesterday I met some of my mates who swam together, Janaka Lena Dua, Ganan, the Ross twins. They were super fast swimmers. Janaka finally played rugby for all. And meeting up with them after 40 years shows, that's probably the school life we had at school and what we did at school. I think, yes, we were champions. Yes, we lost to the Ambalangoda boys then who were swimming in the river at one nationals. They came as the Dolphin Aquatics, stayed with us because they had no accommodation, and then they go for the meet with us, and then they beat us at the meet on the last relay. Gosh, I think honestly there are no certificates to be found. No, we never got medals back in the days, but I think those achievements is probably stands up there. You can then if someone goes into the international level, I mean, I did. It's okay. I mean, those things also happen. Like you said, the South Asian medals, the struggle to get through those. I think 4 SAF games. The first one, I think I came back with 2 medals. Quite a good feeling at the first SAF games, which was in 1982. And then there is, latterly, 3 more SAF games came. Lots of struggles through all this. That's certainly something I couldn't avoid. And so those medals are kind of nice at the South Asian level. Then you have the Asian Games. You mentioned I got into the finals at 2 Asian Games. At the second Asian Games, I had this plan to try and win a medal. And I swam the silver medal time of the previous Asian Games. I'm like, whoa, but looked at the scoreboard, I was ranked 6th still. So just that the Japanese and the Chinese had then moved on to another level. So I jokingly told myself, well, I'm maybe 4 years behind these fellows. Then the Olympics has absolutely no medals, no coming into a finals. You're a little fish in a big pond. Not a bad place to be at the Olympics. And the Olympics I never planned. I don't think I even, so none of these things ever evolved with long-term plans. I was this one fellow, I think till now even, Bilal, I think I just live for the day type of thing. Do enough, it says we have enough things to do for the day as it is. So, I mean, the biggest surprise is all of this just, came one day after the other. And the next thing I realized I had swum for Sri Lanka from 1978. I was a 12-year-old kid when we went to India and swam the Indian age groups. Because when I was 11, the Indians came to the Sri Lankan our age groups and swam with us, and we were kind of winning our races. We thought we were the dons, and suddenly they came and swam circles around us. Like, what happened there? And then they invited us the next year to swim at their age groups, and we went to Bombay, 1978. I was 12 then. And about 4 of us came back with gold medals. I mean, in the sense we beat the Indians. But a year ago, we were way behind. So I guess I learned something there in sport, I think, which is also lacking with Sri Lankan sport, is that long-term planning, the country as a whole. If we do plan, certainly I said, yes, I don't plan, but when we knew that we'll be heading for India in a year's time, I think automatically we took training a little more seriously because probably we didn't want to embarrass ourselves again. I don't know what made us train harder. Didn't even expect the medals, but the medals suddenly popped up. So all these mixed events, there is nothing that stands out, Bilal. That they're all special, I think. But I think the school memories to me is the highlight, man.
Yeah, it's interesting because what you mentioned more is about the memories, the friendships compared to actually your achievements, and I think that's what you seem to value more. And
Honestly, that's what happened yesterday. Where we were not looking for our medals to show, each other what we want. We're like hugging each other and, having a good dance for the papare music. Yeah.
it's interesting because I think in the SAF games in Sri Lanka held in 1990, I was in kindergarten and I remember you coming into the Royal College classrooms holding up your medals in all those classes. Time has surely flown, hasn't it?
Gosh, yeah, we just turned 60 and we called ourselves the new 40s.
Yes, correct.
But it is flying.
Yes.
But memories stay with us. And really, there was a cartoon, I think, Winnie the Pooh, or one of these cartoon characters traveling with another buddy of his, assuming it's a male, Winnie. Um, and the one guy is asking the other, dude, we have a destination, but isn't the journey more important? And
Okay.
we talk about sport now, about the process being as important, more important than our outcomes. Outcomes are
Sure.
inevitable. We'll
Sure.
win, we'll lose, but the day-to-day journey is something for us to appreciate. 'Cause that's where we spend most of our time in our training.
Okay.
And the answer came, obviously, it'd be nice to say that the journey is more important than the destination in this case.
Absolutely.
But the answer he gives is our friendship is more valuable.
Yeah, for sure.
And I thought that's the third aspect. Gosh, what if all this happened and we didn't have friends?
Of course. Of course.
Because one is, we'll touch on that. We come from the play world, no? Into the sports world, and we bring the play with us. And play is all about with friends, being with friends. So
Your mom was a big driving force in your career, I believe.
yeah,
So, would you like to say something about how she influenced your career and your achievements?
yeah. Today on our Instagram, there's a picture of mom recognizing her. Like, oops, that's special because she left us in 2017, I think. Battled two big illnesses. Tough, when you're staying fit and all these illnesses later on hit your life. But certainly, I think fitness. She really was able to battle all that well because of her fitness. So anyway, mom, being the mom, she was our breadwinner. Dad was, I always say, he was a cop. So I'm a son of a cop. So mom, her business was teaching swimming, not coaching. And, then I think her first experience of coaching was in 1981. I was 15 years old. I left for Sydney for training for 18 months as a build up to, which is the Asian Games and the Commonwealth Games. Both are going to happen in the same summer, which still happens. Like this 2026, the Asian Games and Commonwealth are both happening same summer. And I went there. I did okay for 6 months. My old school coach, Gordon Pedra, was there in Sydney. He set up a pool for me. I stayed with my dad's brother, Uncle Norman, and Auntie Mina. So accommodation was sought to back in the days. It was important. And I had a decent 6 months. And then the next 6 months I struggled. I had no improvements. And then I had another 6 months to go because the 18 months, Brisbane was hosting the Commonwealth Games, but I was struggling in my swimming. I decided to come back. But when I came back, Mr. Wilson, the late great, our coach at Royal, I was under Mr. Wilson's guidance, and we all did, superbly well at Royal, and he was the factor. And he had then left for the Middle East for employment. So then Royal was without a kind of coach. I can't remember who was there in the interim till he sort of came back. But I then took on Mum as my coach. And Mum has never done schedules. But what I did was with all my workouts, I had a habit of writing them down every day. So what I did in Australia, I would write it in a book, and there's this exercise book with all these workouts. And yeah, so Mum, I think, took that book and started like looking at it, and that was her start, I think. And I was this stubborn student that she had. I think that was a tough task for her. She's very patient with me. And then I think it evolved to, obviously she would have enjoyed it. Never asked her how it evolved, but then she started the Rainback Boutiques, which is going on till today. And yeah, so that was Mum's career, but learn to swim was a dominant thing because being the breadwinner kind of thing, she played a huge role for us. putting food on the table for us type of thing. Yeah, so that was mom's, I think, run through, from a learn to swim
For sure.
coach to a competitive coach.
Yeah, of course. I remember the day still when walking back from school or college, you see her cycling
She biked,
around
no?
Fifth Lane. Yes,
They said
biked all the way.
the
And I think
lady
you
on
have
the bike,
inherited that as well. Yeah.
still on a bike,
Yes.
save a lot of fuel money with that.
So my next question is, you had a fairly successful career as a swimmer. What made you get into coaching? Because generally most people, once they've competed at their sports, they've had enough of it. But what made you get into coaching?
So I left for the States on a swimming school to a state small Division two team in Pennsylvania, Clarion. Uh, 4 great years, but again, that was a huge another story. The struggle there was huge because I can tell you in short that 4 years was the biggest struggle. I kind of had a feel that for the next 4 years I want to try and push another level on my swimming, but none of that happened. I couldn't even maintain my standard. I went backwards. 4 years, just going backwards. We were a co-ed team, the girls and the boys. We were top three in the Division two. Girls are number one in the country. We were like number three. And of course, with my times, I could beat the girls. But what happened with those 4 years is my standard declined so much that the girls started to beat me. Can you believe that? But then now when I look, I was wondering what was happening to me. But when I look back, I used to survive on $2 a day for food money. Mom used to send me $15 a week to find food. So I never went hungry, but it was never an athlete's food. And my body fat, for example, first time I ever got measured, these things never happened in Sri Lanka. I was in the teens. I was like, not even teens, I was below 10. I was about single digits, 9, 8%. And they said that's the lowest we can be, a boy, a male athlete or male swimmer. So I start the season at 8, 9. I remember it was single digit. And then middle of the season, it used to drop to like 3% body fat. That's how thin I was. So the food just went wrong and my swimming went wrong. But when I finished that career, I had another mentor of mine was John Prince, Dr. John Prince.
Yeah, I met him at some of
Yeah,
his seminars.
beautiful guy. Did very well in the US. He's one of the best biomechanics coaches in the world for swimming. And he's Sri Lankan. We should be proud of this. He's just retired, lives in Hawaii. And so in the summers, I used to go to Hawaii. Everyone thought I was privileged to go to Hawaii on the summer. But boy, again, it was a huge struggle. Again, monetarily to eat well and train. But he said, Julian, when you go back to Sri Lanka after your degree, start coaching. You're meant to coach. I said, no, John, I got a degree, I need to work. So probably in my head, without processing it too much, I think if you have a degree, my thoughts were like, you should be working in a company. And I was sort of determined to, make it through life and then justify the money spent, whatever that was. It wasn't a heck of a lot because of the scholarship and the low budget food bill that I had. But he said to coach, and I was stubborn enough, which I'm glad I did try the office world. So I asked my elder brother, hey, Jeremy, he was working. David was working for Richard Pierce's with the Bajaj assembly section. He was mechanically oriented. And he said, look, the banks are the ones that pay the most. I was like, okay, I'm going to go banking. And I applied to all the banks and got one super job at American Express. We call it the card, but it was a bank then. Boy, within 6 months, I realized I didn't know whether I was coming or going. And then I switched jobs I was still determined to make it in the office world. And then I switched jobs to a multinational. Was a super experience because of the struggle. Because for about 18 months, I was a trainee, or 24 months. It should have been like 1 year. And then when they made me permanent, my salary went backwards. I was earning less than a peon. Okay. Strange things happen in this so-called world that I thought, I'm in a multinational, I'm a brand manager. I'm earning less than a peon. I didn't mind even earning less than a peon. I thought I need my due. So I struggled for cash. And Gosh, then my other brother David had just quit his job at Richard Peters's, now David Peters Motors, and gone into coaching to help my mom. Mom was coaching at that time, so those two were now hitting it out well. And while I was in this company, I was about to mention the name. I told my brother, look, let's do some part-time classes together. We'll put a small ad in the papers, daily news. It's still around. And we put a little ad, we could afford that back page, post page, Bowling Brothers, something to that effect. Starting classes at the Holiday Inn pool, today's Ramada.
Okay.
So it was a Tuesday evening after work, 1 hour, Thursday evening, 1 hour, Saturday morning, I put 2 hours, both of us. A handful of people showed up. Next thing we realized, we are packed. So I am like earning 4 to 5 times the amount I'm earning at this company now with only 4 hours of work. Money is good. I'm like, okay, I love money. You've never seen this side of thing. And then I was enjoying that more than I was enjoying because I was doing both. And then I made that switch and I said bye to the company and that career and came in full time and joined hands with my brother and my mother. And then she coached for another year, I think, also, and she quit. And both of us sort of took on that responsibility of running the Rain Aquatics, and we grew to quite a size, and yeah, it is what it is today. And that's how that switch came.
How long have you been coaching for?
Gosh, it's a turn of the century, huh? 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah, 30 years of coaching, thoroughly enjoying it. Odd hours.
Okay.
5 in the morning, 8 in the night, but it's
So,
okay.
so I'm going to dive in now into a little more of the specifics about youth sports and youth coaching, and like to ask you a few questions on that. So my first question is, what would be before I go, your 3 biggest learnings as a coach in 30 years?
Gosh, no, you're gonna make me think. I think one is what I've learned through this is asking kids what they want. So we have a big banner at the pool for me to remind myself to ask kids what they want instead of us trying to impose our, targets, our inhibitions through these kids, because I think that's one big mistake we make. It's not an easy turn around then to know what that goal is, and then we mix it with our goals, and things that still can go wrong. So it's the battle is between whether we are going to show up for the kids or whether we are going to have the kids show up for us.
Sure.
Is my big transition, Bilal. I think that's a big one. 2 is, I think, to keep youth, kids in sport, because statistics show 70% of kids in America, it is happening here. You see it easily in any sport at the junior level and the senior level. Look at the numbers that compete at the junior level, and it's like a pyramid here. Come to under 20, okay. It's a handful. And so much so that, the sport that you love, in a lot of the schools, they have to look for scholars. Scholarships are given.
The recruitments.
Yeah. So that's just a given, and we are so pushed to win that title, this and that, and we forget that our kids are quitting sport. And when I realize this, that what happens in America, 70% of kids are quitting before they turn 13. Huh?
Yeah.
You look at the numbers here, I'm sure it's the same.
Yeah.
And then they found out the big reason is because they
don't enjoy the sport.
They don't enjoy the sport, and then. That's why I think that one thing if I learned is ask kids what they want, and then of course there'll be a lot of other elements to embrace them as to who they are, love them unconditionally. Not an easy thing to do for quite some time. When I realized that you have to love them unconditionally, I realized, gosh, I need to change.
Okay.
And then the change doesn't happen overnight. Gosh, these old habits of ours stays with us, and then it pops out all of a sudden. 2 weekends ago, I must openly tell you this, and this is where I struggle. I can preach all this, and then it's not easy, and I lost my cool, and and I thought, gosh, here I am, still trying to put it right, and I knew I didn't do it right. So much so that I sent a text message to all the swimmers and said sorry. Gosh. And then that was 2 weekends ago. And this Saturday, our training was so much different. I listened to a little podcast thingy about embracing kids the way they are. Kind of journeyed with that for a week, and we saw decent results this Saturday. So much happier, but not just because the results came, but to try and approach them to appreciate that, without these kids we won't have a job. Gosh. So all that put together, I think that one big lesson would be just ask kids what they want and then journey with them.
Okay. And is there any, obviously you've had a 30-year coaching career, so we all have our regrets as coaches. Any mistakes you have made as a coach from an interpersonal point of view that you'd regret, that you could go back into time and change? Or what would you say, what would you tell your younger coach? Some maybe 3 mistakes as well.
I think it's a big one. I think the big one matters. I'm not good at thinking of 3 things. That's
okay,
for
a
sure.
few.
But here's the one. I think the one thing I made, and it's embarrassing for me to say it, but I'm going to say it because it is real. We're going belittling kids with words. Gosh, I've seen that happen in my life, and we tend to do that because we're pushing them for. We justify all our actions. That's the other thing we do. No, we justify the reason. I used to justify why I would say in how I say it. That is a big one. It might not always happen, but when it happens, those words, I think, are crushing. And gosh, if I can pull back, like you said, then put those things right, but it's not to be. So it's a process of realizing that we need to change and look at things through the child's eyes, and see why they came into sport. And try and measure. There's 2 ways to measure sport, Bilal. This is the problem. We are measuring sport with the outcome. So in America, for example, and it's happening here, no? If 70% of kids are quitting. Now, we did this 3D coaching program, which is a super program that changed a lot of our lives. From the rugby world, a lot of them, from the cricket world, a lot of us coaches. It brings the heart into sport because you have the physical side we do. We all do it the best we know. We do our motivational, the mind stuff. If we are not even educated in psychology, we will motivate kids, sometimes destroy them, or actually be the opposite. But, there is the mind thing, and then there is the heart. So this course brought in the third element, which is the heart. Sure. And the course journeys us through the mind and the heart. And a lot of the mind factors are looked in through the heart.
Yes.
And it becomes more powerful. So I think with these kids, if we look at their lives, and today's kids, what they're asking for is that one thing. You should do this research. I did that last week again. I'll ask a bunch of kids, look, I am coaching you and I also want to be your friend. Which one is more important for you? Majority will say, without hesitation, Bila, friend. They need a friend. Yes, they want us to coach. So that's a big one.
Actually, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I remember reading, I think, in Gary Kirsten's book, when he took over the Indian cricket team. And he spoke to Sachin Tendulkar, who was anyway a great batsman at that time. He just asked Sachin, what do you want me to be? How do you want me to be help you? And all Sachin said is, I want you to be my friend. So it just shows that even elite athletes, they need a bit of love, a bit of help, because they probably deal with fragile egos and certain insecurities that they yet need someone to talk to, even though with all that stardom, they need that help.
There's a childlike thing in all of us. And I think Dave Wharton was on a similar note. When I met him here, it was a great thing to do, meeting up with him. And I said, what did you end up doing? He said, look, I didn't coach them. When they came to me, they were all made athletes. I just hung out with them. In other words, this was the critical factor. And certainly, I like this rule. My uncle, who's 99 years old, living in Sydney, Uncle Norman, my dad's brother, his one little tagline is, Your product that you sell is only 20% of your work. 80% is about getting to know the client, but know the product 100%. So then I looked at swimming also. Yes, coach them. That's only 20% of your input there. 80% should be about getting to know the athlete or
Yeah,
the child in our case when you train kids in sport. And so that heart, I think, is the big element. A friend of mine, Captain Hemant, who runs a grade 1, 2 and 3 rugby program for St. Peter's called the Wolf Pack. Great program. He just launched the new grade 1 kids the other day. Went there and gave a little speech. After messing up my training, here I am talking, 1 hour later, it's like, listen to this holy guy, talking to you how things need to be done. No. And he said in their program, the biggest muscle they coach is the heart. But then I challenge the school, like, gosh, if you do things right like that for the first 3 years, and then the rest of the program doesn't have it, then I think you're planting seeds on futile grounds.
Yeah.
So I challenged the school, and the rector was there. And I said, this is great. Honestly, ask yourself the question, where is that? We got to coach them physically to achieve what they want to achieve. Certainly, there is a lot of training. And so I think this is a huge thing. It's a game changer. If you bring the heart into sport, it doesn't slow you down. It's going to make you compete better. Correct. The science, I think, is showing that you recover faster when you're happier.
Sure.
So I think training is all about recovery. Once you do our damage,
Work
in
plus
training,
rest equals success.
there you go. So, but if you're a happier person, you will recover faster.
Sure.
So we have that magic potion with us.
Yeah, they say some schools teach education of the books and some schools teach education of the heart. So, and that's even sometimes a decision I think parents have to make when they're with their kids to which school, which sport, which coach they would like them to work under.
And our school, Royal, we have learned this tag, in a school song, learnt of books and learnt of men. I think we have to pause and look at that factor, learnt of men. What is it to be a man? What is it? Sometimes we get the wrong end of the stick and say that's being a man.
Yeah.
And this is important to any parent. The research shows, they ask kids, what's your most memorable moment in sport? Bila, they'll come with unique, your story is different to mine. 2 rugby players will have 2 different stories. Everything is so unique. Then they come with the question, what's that moment you want to forget the most? What's the answer? The answer, the most consistent answer, let me out, is the drive home. And I was training a top water polo team last year for 3 months on the fitness side. And they became champions, national champions. But I asked every child after about a month of coaching them, when I got to know them, I said, how many of you get lectured by your parents driving home after a match? Every hand went up. I said, how many of you want it stopped? Every hand stayed up. Then, of course, I called the parents because now I'm part of their program. And I had this conversation with the children and the parents. And I said, by you lecturing, because they look up to you as their role model. And when you start lecturing them, they think they have disappointed you. But then, in rugby, for example, you create new moves, this and that, to try out at a match. Under pressure, and things might go wrong.
Yeah.
All you do is tell the boys, we practice, it went wrong, let's go back to practice and still put it right. But if you ask kids what is that moment they want, it's been researched, they said the drive home. For parents to embrace them as their kids when they get in the car and talk everything but the sport.
True.
So they've come home. When they get in the car, bike, even they're in a bus, in a motorcycle, once they get home, they'll get lectured. Just stop the lecturing.
Yeah.
It will be a game changer to have kids stay in sport.
Yes.
Because we want kids to be in sport. The gaming world, Bila, we've had this conversation. The gaming world is gaining all this. This 70% of kids who quit sport, physical activity, which they love to do, because that's what we did when we were small. We ran around, we played. And then we are dumping the physical sport for the gaming world. It's $1 trillion industry. It's now at the Asian Games. Mark my word, I think the Olympics, they'll have it sooner than later. But why are they going to the gaming world, if you ask? Are they going to the gaming world, or are they first running away from us? Because when from the play world, they come to the sports world, they meet a guy called a coach. They actually meet a guy called a father and a mother. Because they were never at the playground.
Sure.
So this whole experience of bringing their fun with them into the sports world, we will turn it around and say, you know what, you better win to be happy. We create that entitlement type of kid.
Sure.
Then all the business worlds, out here are complaining, saying the young people who join their workforce don't stick around and they're always quitting early because they've become entitled. They're looking for what they can get, nothing about what they can give. And when that reward doesn't come, they look for something else and they quickly switch jobs. And then we are blaming these kids. Do we have the right to blame them, or did we create them?
True.
And this is the question we got to ask. So the end product. And really, this is a tough one. I mean, I've spoken this to parents in front of kids. You got the school world, right? And then from the school world, you go in the real world. You might do higher studies. Finally, it's the job. And in the workforce, it is about not staying in one place. But then comes marriage. Now, if you look at numbers, we have 2 to 300 divorces submitted to courts every day in Sri Lanka. We have less than 500 marriages. We're not going to marriage counseling and all this, but that's the end result, right? Home. You build a home. Those things are not lasting now. There's a greater chance that all these kids that we coach are going to end up having, or end up being in divorce, if that's the word to use. That's not what we want. And then in the sports world, if we also, and through their youth, if we can train them. And one thing we do in our team now is not going to be game changers, but we're trying this. The one thing we look for now in kids is whether they show up for each other. Show up. Yes, physically they have things to do. But certainly if you go to bed early, the night before, next morning's training, you go to bed so that you can come afresh to show up for your teammates. And then the teammates must show up for each other. 2 ways. And I think this way the performance of the team is going to go to another level.
Yeah.
But it also then, hopefully they become that. And they take it into the workforce. They'll take it into real life.
Yeah.
And learn to show up for each other. As if this happens, communities are made through this. And so I think we can influence a lot of kids.
Yeah. And also I think it's interesting, I think my good friend and your good friend Dr. Chamara Vijay Singh, he was very involved when I was coaching St. Joseph's rugby, and once he was speaking to the parents, and I still, probably 10 years back, and I still remember what he said. Rugby was not a very popular sport at St. Joseph's, so you had these issues of parents stopping them from playing rugby to focus on studies. And he made a great point. He said, you want your children to be happy even after they leave school. So what sports teaches you, it teaches balance. It teaches you to balance sports and studies. And then that prepares you for work life. Because again, if you become a workaholic, your marriage is going to suffer.
Exactly.
And you struggle with that balance again. So you learn to struggle with family as well as learn to balance family and work.
This is critical.
So I think it's also important we get kids out there playing more sports. Childhood obesity is on the rise and things like that. So interesting. So I'm going to slightly divert a bit at something to talk a little bit more, which is a little more closer to my heart, about sort of schools rugby, schools cricket.
Yeah.
And just like to hear your thoughts on it as well. So I've been there in it as well. So having coached a few years back, one of the biggest issues coaches have is they're under tremendous pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they have the pressure from the parents that one of their kids is not in the team, and issues like that. Then they have pressure from the rugby committees to deliver, and then that pressure transfers on to the players. Because then particularly if that's your only bread and butter, you're going to do anything to win. So is there any advice? The rugby season is coming up as well. Any seasons, any reason, any advice how coaches could manage that pressure? Because how I see it is as a vicious cycle. The pressure comes from the rugby committee to the coach to deliver. Then that pressure is transferred onto the players.
Yeah.
Been guilty myself sometimes.
No, certainly. We are
We all
all in
have.
this. Yeah, absolutely.
But sort of, and I think it sort of got a little worse since COVID. I'm not sure
It,
for it just got out of hand. So, what are your thoughts on that?
wait for the next 5 years and
Yeah,
see. I think it's going from bad to worse.
yeah,
A few things. One is, I think the employer. So we are talking about this new thing about the table of support. The table is the child. The table of support are the four chairs we looked at in a child's life in school. If they're into sport, then they'll have the teachers, you'll have the coaches, and the more privileged schools in the village, and you might not have this, but the administrators can be teachers in charge, committees. They play a critical role in the rugby world. You have committees. I think there's a huge who seems to be running rugby in some of the more bigger schools. I think are the committees. The principal has no say. What principal wants these kids to be. So and then so we got the teacher, the administrator, the coach, and the final one is the parent. We must understand why do we employ these coaches. You as a coach, you get employed. If you go into club rugby, you're employed, you're an adult, it's different. You can treat them as an employee, and then again, employees, how do you treat employees? That's another topic on its own. But these school kids are put through pressures through the administrator, through the coaches, through the spectators, that's a big one in the rugby world, spectators. Now, if you look at the Royal team last year, I had the privilege, I'm not going to say this made a difference, but it sort of coincided with what they did. Gamini invited me to come and talk to the players on that Tuesday. Thursday was the game.
the Royal cricket team.
Yeah, okay. Cricket team. And I'm like a little nervous, what do you want to talk, this and that. So, but one thing in passing I told them is, look, today the Thomians would have practiced their butt out. And there's another reason why they practice their butt out, is to get the best out of you. And you worked your butt out today, according to they would have eased off a little closer to the game, right? I said, it is to get the best out of those Thomian boys. Because when you're in the gym and working out, you're trying to lose weight. We're trying to go back in, as adults, bring back our fitness. But with sports kids, we are trying to get them to do something they haven't physically done before. This is the most beautiful thing we can help kids do. And what did Royal do? I'm not saying it's because of that, but they did something where they declared early. Remember last year?
Yes, and they lost the match.
They didn't give the Thomians an easy chance to win. No, there's a chance that we could have bowled them out too. And then we lost the match. Royal. That Sunday, I was at a lunch, family lunch. We had uncles who were Thomians, had peers who were Thomians, had nephews who were Thomians, and they were all talking about the Royal team and its declaration. When did a winning team ever talk about the losers? What happened last year? I think Gamini got a lot of slack for that. Again, the committee. So we have to come, that table of support, man. That moment, we should all come together and say, well done, Royal.
Yeah.
The blame game happens. Sometimes you get the sack just because you don't win.
Yeah.
What if you are actually, not every team can win. One has to lose. And what if you're actually improving yourselves? And there's a program, a process. So all this is not considered. So, about individuals, parents want them to achieve. Now with that water polo team, the vice captain, who was the games captain, was not a strong player. And one day we did the test set, a little enough, because my job was to try and improve their, fitness. And we were doing some 200-meter repeats, which is 8 lengths of our pool, 25-meter pool, it's easy thing. And this girl was going in with 6 lengths at a time. Now that should annoy me. Like, hello, Miss Vice Captain, what are you doing here? So I called the player out, and I was going to actually talk and say, look, you're cheating. But I was aware that I need to try and say it nicely also, trying to put this heart in there, but
Sure.
tackle it in the right way. Before I could say anything, Bilal, she started crying. Just, Then I found out that's when I found out she's the games captain. Something with music, something with the load they carry. She couldn't even express herself. I don't think she knew that she was actually doing 6 lanes instead of the 8.
Okay.
And we think they are robots. And to see that day, there was, she's going to have a very busy day. And the load was so much. None of us want to consider that. And then one day the mom came to me, and then we had that parent meeting. And then the mother came to me and said, "Sir, but she's not so great. And she's the games captain, vice captain, and she's on the bench. She might not play. What do others think about?" It's the mother who says, "What do other parents think about me?" That's another one. Parents must understand that no matter, and this is what I tell parents, no matter whether your child wins or loses, please understand, you are the number one mother and number one father in the world. It doesn't change when they win. It doesn't change when they lose, so don't worry. Because they want to be that parent who is like, that's my child. Take that away from, bring the joy back. But I told the mother this, that was the first time it was a spontaneous answer. I said, what if she's on the bench, cheering the teammates, when they come for that water break, they have these timeouts like basketball, they come in, she's the first to be there with the water bottles. I said, what if all that happens and all the young girls of Visakha sees this, games captain, vice captain, benched, but cheering on. I said, what an influence are you going to make in their lives? Can it make? Mom went quiet. Thank you, sir. I heard she had played well and she had scored the first goal, it seems, at the match. So I don't know what happened, the transition from then on. So again, are we going to judge and wait on an outcome versus just enjoy our school life and be part of a team, a community that actually gets things done? In an individual sport like swimming, swim for each other. Just we do have trophies to go for and we have to show up for each other.
But the question I come back to you again is, how do coaches manage that pressure? Because the reality is we don't live in that world, right? We have committees for putting the pressure on them.
If the employer, absolutely. So the answer is, if the employer demands unnecessary demands, it's hell on earth. I think there is no changing. But
on the other side of the coin, it's a coach whose livelihood depends on it. So he's trying to do anything. Anything to win. So, I really don't know what the solution to it is.
Solution is quite simple. We must understand things are going wrong. Let's come back to the drawing table. Sit. I'm going to mention this. The Trinity Rugby Committee, they have a classic name for it.
Lions.
The committee is called
the Scrummage.
Met this gentleman called, it's a reverend, but I call him Kasi from South Africa, who's the chaplain for the Invictus rugby team. The famous Invictus of 95, the Rugby World Cup. He was a chaplain. And he's been to Sri Lanka. We have things that we do with him here now. And he's the one who said, so the Trinity, and one of the Trinity captains, former Sri Lankan player, who has now been influenced by Kasi, brought the scrummage, and we met over tea. And they were asking that question because, Trinity wasn't winning for a while. And they're spending the millions. They're like, what are we doing? Why are we doing? Because as long as you're winning,
everything's good.
Your X amount of million rupees is okay. If not, if you lose, it's down the drain.
Natural talent or work ethic?
Work ethic.
If you could choose one, why?
Talent is a horrible thing, because when we say kids are talented, then we are expecting them to do well. It's a bad thing. Just work ethic is the critical. Train kids to take passion, be passionate trainers.
Okay. Most underrated quality in any athlete?
Showing up for each other.
Showing up for each other, is it?
We do see athletes doing that, and sometimes we don't recognize this.
So basically being a team player.
Absolutely.
What matters more, a great coach or a supportive parent? Just one.
Parent. It's closer to the child's heart.
One word that defines a great coach?
Love.
Winning or development, which matters more in youth sport?
Development, obviously. because it's long term, and we have to produce them to take it into the next level of sport or life.
Does player recruitment improve youth sport, or does it create an unfair advantage?
Can have both. It gives a kid from a smaller school to have a chance to come in and excel, like in studies, in sport, but to have control in it. Some control is what we'd like to see in sport.
How serious of a problem is performance enhancing drugs in youth sports?
Youth were asked in the US, if you were to take, the substances, two things will be guaranteed. You'll be guaranteed an Olympic medal, guaranteed you will not get caught, but you will lose 10 years of your life. 90% would say they'll take it. That's one. Two is, I'm hearing now in the US, the parents are pushing for it. That's critical.
Overtraining or undertraining?
Under?
Overtraining.
I prefer under. The university, Division 2, Division 1, the highest level of sport in the US sport, university, has a cap, a rule, you can't train more than 20 hours. They are winning at the Olympics and in every sport, and we are not. And we are doing more than 20 hours.
Okay. Why do coaches overtrain the athletes?
Because we think more you do, the better, We forget that there's a recovery involved, that we break the body during training, and then there has to be time for that body to recover. And when they recover, in that process is where they get stronger and faster.
Okay.
That's the simple way of, I think
most coaches know it, but why do they still overtrain them?
I am guilty of it as well. So we have to be very aware of it. We need to make conversation on this, remind ourselves. One thing we do is we check the heart rate of children. Every morning they'll check
resting heart rate,
heart when they wake up in the morning. And if it doesn't stay at the normal, then we think that's one indicator. Second big indicator to know if there is overtraining happening, see the mood of the athlete. If there's less smiles, then there is overtraining.
Things to look for in an athlete who's overtraining.
I think one is make sure there is rest. There's a clip that I saw on YouTube. Babies sleep the most. Then if Michael Phelps slept in the night for 10 hours, then youth athletes who are training full time should sleep how long? More than 10. This is the critical factor. So the recovery happens during sleep. So another indicator we do is checking of their heart rate when they wake up in the morning, they log it, and if it doesn't stay the same, in that their resting heart rate, if they're overtrained and the recovery is not happening, then heart rate tends to go up. So then we can't sort of look into it. Another critical point is the child's or the athlete's mood. It can be an adult. If there is less of a smile, that means they're tired, and when they're really tired and consistently tired, then there might be overtraining taking place.
So less smiling means they're stressed, basically.
Yes, and no, less smile means there is more stress, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, I think
So
keep an eye on that. Can I give you an example? A kid showed up at our pool the other day, 8-year-old swimmer, swimming well. Watching the kid swim, no smile. I knew something is wrong. I called the dad. I asked the dad what's going on. The Monday schedule, I give you only the Monday schedule, 8-year-old. School swimming, here they're coming for private swimming. School swimming at 5:30 to 7, 6 hours of school after that, 2 to 4 school diving, that's another Olympic sport, 2 to 4, 4:30 to 6:30, gymnastics. No smile. I saw it. So that smile factor, that was the critical one. And then I said, stop. I don't need to know your Tuesday program. Don't even. I'll get angry.
Just coming to resting heart rate, to make it really short. So obviously, if the resting heart rate is high, you want to pull back on the training. So can you just give us some quick numbers? That's something a parent can do and an athlete do.
Yeah, so they wake up in the morning, check it out as you get out of bed. Don't walk around and check for 10 seconds, 6 seconds, 30 seconds. We have a little bit of time.
Yeah. How many do you want in 60 seconds?
Yeah,
what's the number?
You will find out, and you'll see some athletes at 60, some are at 50. I used to be in the low 30s, believe it or not.
Yeah,
I'm still at 40. I don't know whether it's bad health even. Who knows? My heart is going down. But so there is a consistency of yours, and that should then stay the same. And then, if the overtraining takes place, you will see that 60 becoming 65 or 70
70 or 80.
consistently. So kids come to us and say, sir, this morning I'm not feeling well and my heart rate is up. They even say that. So
Okay.
then we either ease off or we get them to rest.
Fantastic. I
Sorry.
think we could go on for hours, Julian, as like our coffee chats, but I think we've come to the end of our show. Thanks a lot for coming.
Bro, pleasure to have you.
And yeah, we'll be in touch. Thanks everyone
All
for
the best.
joining us, and stay tuned for the next podcast as well.